Always astonishing when I first come here, and as many of you will know from having visited yourself, that the power of being here is like nothing that could be understood or explained. And it's even having been many times, the that can touch my heart, the shock of and truly a shock, because it's a power like nothing else I've ever experienced anywhere. It just brings you to your knees and humbles you in ways that just you could never imagine. And yeah, it comes in as a complete surprise, and and it can feel like a lot. And yet the love is so profound, because the grace of love's grace is that it wants for us to see through everything. It wants for us to be absolutely and completely and utterly free. And and it's a power of love that we can so often in our human journey and experience feel like it's missing or it's lacking or that it's abandoned us, and the challenging things that are happening are somehow a sign of a lack of love or an abandonment by love. And it is as we come to realize that the grace of love is in the most surprising and challenging situations in life, because they are coming to show us what we need to see, what we need to free, what we need to illuminate, and what we need to love, the places that we need to bring love, where love wants to permeate, penetrate, saturate. Love wants all of us. Love wants every single fiber and thread, and there's nothing that we can hide from love. And there's nothing that we can do. You know, we can imagine that we need to prepare ourselves for the the seeming broken parts, or the seeming wounded or traumatized or unworthy parts, that we need to work on these places. But love is such a power that it knows everything anyway. It sees all of us. Of course, we could bring the word God or glory or whatever we want to bring in, but it's this one power that we are and that we belong to. And it already sees our wholeness. It already sees our fullness. And the happenings of life are this invitation to see ourselves as fully and to live that fullness in the way that love sees us, to be able to know ourselves the way that love knows what we are, who we are, and to see through the limiting ways that we see ourselves and judge ourselves and can be so hard upon ourselves. The first day that I walked upon the mountain, it was almost as if uh, the the great sharing came in like with the first steps, which was to realize that the devotee, any sense of devotee, wants to be merged into pure devotion, and that there has to be the most profound and subtle realization of what pure devotion is, and to give ourselves so powerfully to the flow of pure devotion, because in the flow of pure devotion, this is the flow of life, this is the flow of wholeness, this is love's flow. The pure devotion is for the sake of love itself, is not a devotion to anything external, and it breaks down, it collapses the protections that can be in devotion to. So this was pointing to how we can create an identity out of being a devotee. And it's not that in pure devotion there's not still a sense of devotion, but that we collapse the spiritual identity of the devotion that is separate from what it is devoted to. And we recognize that in a flow of pure devotion, that our devotion, our focus, our longing is for our very own self, is for the fullness of ourself, is for all the identities, boundaries, barriers, protections, conditionings to collapse. And that we, in presence, are constantly inviting grace to show us where we are holding ourselves away from love and imagining that love is not present. As I took my first steps, the mountain really said, you don't even need to walk on this mountain. Don't walk on this mountain for any other reason apart from that that's what just feels joyful and good in this moment. Don't walk on this mountain thinking that you're going to get something, that you're going to get somewhere, that you're going to be shown something. Don't walk on this mountain with any even subtle ideas of outcomes. Walk on this mountain for love itself, for this is where love is calling you right now. And really this reveals and invites us to realize that to create an identity out of the spiritual journey can itself be a protection. Any identity is a protection. And ultimately, what we are really opening to is we're coming to a sense of freedom where we are reconnected to source, reconnected to the power of love, reconnected to that there is only one power. And that when we are connected to our intuitive knowing and we are moving from an internal compass that is constantly checked for the yes, and that we're not trying to find reason or make sense of, but that we're following the intuitive, deep sense of our knowing. Because this is where a true surrender really comes. This is where true pure devotion comes, is that we're devoted to listening. We're devoted to aligning with our most high intuitive sense. We're devoted to aligning with knowing the truth of what we are, the truth of who we are, and we're not aligned with ideas and concepts. We're not aligned with teachings and lineages, and we're not aligned with ideas that seem holy, that we're aligned with our most pure sense of holy. Because we are holy, we are the holy, we are whole. And when we align with, we could say, our longing, that pure devotion, when we align with that inner sense, we just know already what is holy. We know already what is true. And we're really coming into like an inner alignment of our compass where we trust that. We're not trusting it because it makes sense, because it offers us this, that, or the other, but we're realigning and coming into a depth of connection where we recognize that we are already whole and we're already equipped, and that nothing outside of us has an authority higher than our connection to God and glory, right? So of course, as always, as the words are coming, it's just to feel into and notice what is resonant. Notice what happens in your field. Notice what is enlivened. And of course, even though these things that are being shared here are coming into the field here in my experience, because I am here and I'm in the company of Arunachala and this incredible power of grace that is love's compassion that is so profoundly committed to revealing and purifying and collapsing anything and everything that is ready to tumble. I had this feeling in the first few days of the tower is collapsing. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what is collapsing. But the sense of discombobulation in the field was very, very strong, and my body was expressing with many symptoms. And there could have been a sense of, oh, I'm not to be here. I'm in the wrong place because I'm not feeling good. I need to be somewhere where I feel good. This is not working. And yet, as the layers of resistance and the ability just to really allow, and of course this is true for all of us with every situation, the ability to allow and really welcome the resistance, welcome everything that the whole being is stirred in, and truly allow love to touch everything until the collapse doesn't feel like you're inside a tower that is like just falling apart and around you and everything's landing on your head. But it's realized to be a collapse of what is keeping us from love. It's a collapse of layers of identity, a collapse of what is holding us away from everything that we are longing for. And as we referenced right in the beginning, that love is always attempting to show us, by whatever means, a more clear lens of seeing that is unfiltered and pure, and that recognizes the essence, nature, the beauty, the grace, and the love that we are. Let's take a few minutes with the mountain. It's very low tech, but I'm gonna just move the camera lens so that we can just sit with the mountain together for a little while, and then we'll come back in and connect in. But I would love for you to have the visual presence and company. So I'm gonna just move this camera like this across and try to bring the mountain into focus. Right, you can see now, yeah. It's a very, very hazy day here, so it's not the camera that's creating the haze. It's a super hazy day. This tends to happen in the morning. So let's just rest here for a few moments together in the silent company of Arunachala. And so just as we shared earlier, it's not about anything external, it's an ever deeper welcoming of yourself, an ever deepening welcoming of the love that you are, an open receptivity to welcome the embrace of love in the fullness of this moment. There is nothing outside of us that is higher or more whole. And so it is to reroute that sense of seeing anything outside of us as higher or more whole and find the route to the source and our belonging to the holy heart, the heart that is whole, the love that is already perfect, spotless. So we might see that as rerouting any sense of devotion to this flow of pure devotion. And in a way, wholeness itself is in absolute devotion to itself. So we could say the love is a flow of devotion that is just so in love with itself. It's just flowing within itself with so much love and care and compassion and seeing and a depth of understanding that is a knowing, a heart that knows itself. Everything is standing revealed. And in our way, our hearts know this truth and long for this truth, and we can try to search for this truth in some kind of worldly experience or situation or even spiritual experience. But when we just reroute where our gaze is to the presence of our own heart and the connection to source, we start to return to what has always been so, what has always been here. And this is what it feels that the mountain is sharing with us. And you will have your own version and experience. Mm. Mm. So just resting here and in the sharing of what has been coming in this transmission field, it's about this like wild open receptivity to the frequency of what the mountain is. The mountain is always true. The identities that we create are not always the fullness of the truth of who we are. They can be protective. And they can be protective in many directions. They can be protective in ways of rejecting the mountain, and it can be protective in ways of like, I already know it, I've already got it, right? And really what is being invited is the relaxation that receives all of that protection, that the love love's love. And of course, love itself isn't a mountain, and yet there's something about the presence of this mountain that is the presence of a love that is perfect. And it's impossible to understand or comprehend or make sense of. And in a way, it's not asking us to pretend that we can make sense of it. It's asking us to not make sense of it. It's inviting us to be humbled and crumbled, and to actually be in the releasing of the identities that think that I already know, or I'm not really interested in that, or I don't know what you're talking about, whatever. It's beyond all of that. There's something that isn't a mountain, but there's a truth that is always pure, and it's the truth of who we are. And in a way, the way that we are with the mountain is the way that we are with ourselves. So I would then say, well, what is my identity of thinking I already know this? I already know. Or what is my identity of how do I reject myself? How do I make myself superior and all of these silly people speaking about a mountain, right? It's like how is the way that I feel right now in the presence of what is happening here a reflection of the way that I am with myself? Because this is what we're speaking of, is that the mountain is a symbol. It's not about devotion to a mountain, it's about a devotion to truth. It's about a devotion to our own wholeness. And there's something about the present, being in the presence of this mountain, of being here. As I said in the beginning, it's like nothing I've ever experienced anywhere else that just calls you out. It calls you out in a way that you didn't even know was possible. It's quite shocking. It's astonishing. And in a way, by sharing it here, it's kind of an invitation to be called out of yourself, to be called out of the identities, and not to be in a posture of, oh, I don't really have any identities, or I've already got it, or I don't really know, what's going on here. It's like, it's a calling out of like, who are you? What is important? You are love. Are you open to receive the love that you are? Are you open to your own ecstatic nature? And it's like being called from within. It's like being uncorked from within, right? It's like a bottle of shaken champagne, right? We're not taking the corkscrew and pulling it out. It's like the effervescence, the bubbling of pure devotion pops the cork on the true ecstatic nature of who we are, because it can't contain itself. Love cannot be contained. Love cannot be pinned down, bottled, held back, right? Love just loves. Pure devotion just flows. The wholeness just is. It's in everything, everywhere. It's not in isolation, and it's not only in this mountain. And the first one to share this is this mountain, right? The first steps. The mountain says, don't bow to me. Don't, don't be, don't come with any ideas. And the humbling that says, just be here, just be yourself. In a way, it's an invitation into an intimacy with this, with our very own self. And that's what's humbling. What's humbling is the humility, we could say, to be our true heart, to be the love that we are, to love every single fiber and thread of our being, to accept and include and welcome whatever life brings, to truly recognize as the intelligence that there's only one power, and that power is love. And to find out in our direct experience what love actually is, what grace actually is, right? That we're not being invited into any kind of spiritual ideals or contexts or lineages. It's like, one other thing that happened for me in the first few days is that feeling of the emperor's new clothes, of seeing through it all, because there's a lot of a spiritual scene here, right? There's a lot of that, and there's in the seeing through it all, it's not a judgment of it, it's an honoring of the pure devotion and the innocence that's the root of it, and yet receiving the rawness that's asking us to unwrap ourselves, to be naked, be raw, be real. Because we can only live the frequency of reality if we're willing to be real, to be radically honest with ourselves, and to not imagine that we've already climbed the mountain and that we're taking in the view, but to constantly be walking, constantly be taking more steps into the depths of ourself, and not imagining that we've got to the top. Because just as we see here, and some of you have mentioned, it's like we know that the mountain is here, and the mountain is here, and yet there's this dance of it appearing and disappearing. It happens even being here in real life. But the play of the screen is that the truth is always here. What we're being invited into is the realness of, I see it, I don't see it, I know it, I don't know it. That we're being invited to hover, to never get there, because there's nowhere to get. And that's the grace, is that there's nowhere to get to, right? That in a way, where we get to is the hovering. It's not the achievement. That's a protection, right? So we're humbled again and again. And just when we think we've climbed a ladder, we land on a snake. And that's not a mistake. We didn't make a wrong move. It's the roll of the dice. It's life. It's the human life. And we are love, whether we're climbing a ladder or sliding down a snake and seeming like we're back at the beginning. It's like we're not on a game board that we're ever going to win in the way that the mind thinks that we might. Spiritual ambition or goals or achievement, it's that we're always a beginner. We're always fresh, right? The process of maturation and refinement, we could say, is the ability to be nothing, to be no one, to give up trying to get anywhere, right? To give up climbing the mountain, right? It's like, give it up and just be yourself, right? What are you drawn to? What are you attracted to? What enlivens you, right? Because when you're aligned in the truth, you're actually at the top of the mountain and you're taking in the view, but not as someone that's made a journey and has achieved a goal, but as a being that is resting in the truth of what the heart really is. And that's the humbling that we're constantly being invited into. The very first time I came to Arunachala 8 years ago, had been through years of profound, living in profound bliss and freedom and a depth of recognition of my true nature and I remember saying to a companion, I'm referencing this song, when everything has burned, I will take the ashes and offer them up to you. And I said to a companion, I feel like I'm taking the ashes to offer them up. And I got here and I was so humbled to think that I had burned anything and that I had a pot of ashes to offer up, right? It's kind of like just when we think that we've burned and we're offering our pot of ashes, the fire starts blazing again, right? And the ashes are the love, right? And it's not like, oh, I made a mistake and I'm humbled and like in a way of being punished for thinking, because I had truly burned a lot and I had a big pot of ashes, and yet there was a humbling of an identity, right? And it happens again and again and again. And so perhaps we can rest in devotion to the humbling of identity again and again and again. And that we never get to the end of identity being humbled, because somehow in our lived human experience, the possibility to to identify is just right there, right? And so subtle. And that the way that those layers are being stripped, being stripped, being stripped. It's a constant. And in a way, that's the grace and glory of the human life. And it's not, as well, let's say, it's not about a tapas or an austerity or making a kind of a story of a journey that's hard. It's that the human lived experience is joyful. It's like a joyful wonder of an adventure. And it's receiving every moment of the adventure, because the adventure is inviting us to open to the light that we are, the love that we are, and is inviting us to take that so deeply into our human lived experience as to embody it, to bring this light to the surface of life, to bring this love to the surface of life. And that it starts to really have meaning as we live it, as we bring it to the surface of life. And we could say then our frequency shifts from the frequency of fear and division to a frequency of wholeness and love, and yet we're constantly being stripped. We're never landing, we're always hovering, right? We're as fresh and awake as the moment, right? This moment. It's never an experience in the past. It's never something that we have gained. The awakeness is always fresh. It's ever present. It's infinite, boundless reality right here now, right? It's this moment. It's this moment. It's this moment. It's the omnipresence of the moment that's ever fresh, ever awake, ever alive. And it's this willingness to relax into living right here on the, we could say, the seeming edge of our own evolution, while at the same time knowing that the wholeness is already whole, and that we're somehow a vehicle. Our human lived experience is like a vehicle for embodying this wholeness, embodying this light, embodying this love. And we have no map, and we don't really know what we're up to. And yet there's a grace and an intelligence that's carrying us. And when we surrender into the moment, we surrender into being carried. We're being carried by an intelligence, a grace that does know. And so in a way, maybe our posture is just one of awe. Maybe our posture is one of awe and openness and absolute not knowing, like mouth wide open, chin on the floor, no idea what the Jolly Jack Jones is going on here. Just, okay, okay, okay. You know, I can share with you that the first few days here, I mean, they were rocky. I didn't want to be here. I was really like, I was like, okay, how many days can I actually keep myself here? And then one morning, I a relaxation just came. The purification, the intensity of the fire of purification just suddenly shifted, right? The moment just shifted. That I didn't do anything, nothing really happened. I was fine with the fire. I was fine with the intense purification. I was fine with the fact that I was feeling like the love affair with being in India was over. The love affair with Arunachala was never over. The truth was right here and it was blazing. And yet there was a moment where just suddenly the relaxation came. And it was like, oh, okay, okay, I can be here. It's okay. Whatever needed to happen had to happen. And I share this with you with openness and honesty because it is the lived experience of our human life, is that we never know when the next layer of purification will come. And then suddenly the feeling of the light feels so much brighter, the love feels so much bigger, right? And we know this, it's always like this. That we just keep saying yes, and in a way, it's like the depth of the yes, and that would be my experience was that the depth of my yes finally included everything. And then the exhalation and the fire just was reduced to ashes. And then we offer those ashes and just be in the awe of just wow. This is where I am. This is how it is. This moment, right? So we're all in the same game together. And it's a game that we won't win, but it's a glorious game where we can join in the unity, the unified heart of being, in the love, and we can share the grace and glory of ever widening the heart, ever deepening in the love, and ever shining as the radiance of the one heart that is always divine and pure, right? Yeah. There's a humbling being here to just witnessing the flows of the rituals and the pujas and the the ways that have been continued over so many years and just continue every day. There's a frequency of pure devotion and there's a frequency of innocence to it. Because in a way, the continuation, it carries this frequency of never getting there. Right? So on one hand, we could say it's like is the devotee that thinks that if I keep doing this, then, and of course that's completely innocent, right? It's the spiritual journey. It's It's the way that we're moved. And yet the current, that frequency that we tap into when we're not receiving it on the level of the happening or the experience. We're receiving that frequency of the innocence of pure devotion that flows in constant surrender to itself, in constant devotion to itself. And that's the magic. That's the truth that's underlying it all, is the frequency of wholeness, a wholeness that is already whole, a love that is already perfect. And every being is goodness. Every being is that love. And every being is doing their very best, the best that they've got in every moment, to receive the grace of God's plan for us, right? Love's journey for us, right? Yeah. Mm. The layers of humbling that we come to bring us to this recognition that there's nothing more glorious than to feel humbled. There's nothing more glorious than to feel another layer of identity fall away and to feel the rawness of almost being kind of birthed into this moment, fresh, not knowing, and yet seeing somehow more clearly and loving ourselves more naturally and simply, kindly and patiently than we have before. Yeah. Mm. So just resting here and receiving and just noticing how love is moving in your heart, how love is recalibrating and reconfiguring you, how love is swallowing the layers of identity that are ready to be stripped. And inviting the depth of relaxation where that almighty yes resonates and reverberates through our whole field and brings a sense of okay, okay, okay. And that sense of okay turns to wow, wow, wow. Mhm. I'm seeing and feeling the presence of I'm feeling and seeing the presence of Ramana right here with us. And just the humility and compassion of this being, just living the freshness every day and just walking, eating, resting, being, and never arriving, like the mountain path that has no destination. It's like the path to eternity.